A year after a wildcat strike shocked the state prison system, it still stands in a precarious state. The National Guard stationed inside prisons. We will talk with the head of the Corrections Officers Union on what he's hearing as of right now. Plus, New York's cannabis industry has seen its struggles and some changes this year. We'll hear from the new acting director of what he's focusing on for the future. Hello and welcome to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Gray in Albany. New York's corrections system has seen challenges and developments over the past year. Last February, corrections officers took part in an unauthorized, what they call wildcat strike. The officers protesting the HALT Act, which limited the use of solitary confinement, as well as staffing shortages and mandatory overtime. To maintain operations during the walkout, the state deployed the National Guard into the prisons across the state. After 22 days, the majority of the CEOs returned to their posts, while over 2,000 officers were terminated for failing to go back to work. Now, the fallout from the strike continues to impact the system. To address the labor shortage, the state lowered the minimum age for corrections officer applications from 21 down to just 18 years old. Despite this, as of November of last year, over 2,000 National Guard members were still stationed within the prisons. The governor is suggesting over $500 million in the proposed budget to keep the National Guard working in the prisons. Joining us now to give additional insight on corrections in the state, the president of the State Corrections Officers and Police Benevolent Association, NYSCOBA, is Chris Summers. Chris, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
First time getting to meet you here. Let me ask the general softball over the middle of the plate question. How are you guys doing right now? A year out of the whole strike and people getting let go and people coming back, and how's the status right now with the guards?
So right now we're getting by. We're still on that that level right there. We're still mandated. We're no longer 8-hour shifts. We're now mandatory 12-hour shifts. No vacations, no personal time off.
There's not enough staff? Is that the issue?
Yeah, there's not enough staff. We're down 4,800 members right now. Trying to get everybody to apply for the job to come and work to be a correction officer. It's just not happening.
What's the issue? Is it the pay? Is it just the nature of the work that you're dealing with? It's a hard job, the people you're trying to control and govern and, manage, because you're dealing with people who've been taken out of society who can't play well with others,
Correct. It is a hard job. Long hours. You can get mandated. Once you walk in through that gate or behind the wall, you're cut off from society. You're basically in prison for 12 hours a day. You go 12 hours, and now they're mandating to 16 hours. There's no work-life balance, so to see your family is just impossible.
And there's nothing you guys can do about these shifts? Is that coming just from your bosses, or is it coming from Albany, where these mandatory shifts and long shifts, or? Because it would seem like somebody would be able to say, this isn't working, guys. We got to give people more flexibility.
So before the strike, we were 8-hour shifts, and then we're getting mandated 16, 24 hours, a lot of 24-hour shifts.
Wow.
You were working 5 days in a row, probably 3 to 5 of those days were 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So now that we're on the 12-hour shifts, I'm not going to say it's helping, but they're trying to make it more for a work-life balance. Mm-hmm. It's just not working that way right now. And as everybody knows, that the National Guard is inside the prisons. So if they're used properly, it would help relieve for staff to go home and see their families. And what everybody forgets is our COs, the men and women, also do things on the outside in the communities. They're volunteers,
sure.
Volunteer firemen, they're coaches, for little leagues. They can't do that if they're stuck inside.
Am I wrong to think that even if you have somebody who's been trained as a National Guard person and they're really smart and they're really good at that, they have that training, you can't just plug and play with this job, where there must be things you guys, if I walked in tomorrow and said, okay, Chris, make me a guard and put me on a tier, and you'd be like, whoa. I'm assuming you'd say, you got a lot to learn before I can put you in direct contact or in control of inmates. Talk about that. Are these guards able to do everything you guys do? I'm assuming they can.
They can't do everything that we do. Obviously, we go through academy for eight weeks. They did run a crash course for the National Guard. They went in for, I believe, a week to get kind of what the gist of how to be a CO. But they don't know all the ins and outs, and the reason things run the way they do is because of things that happened in the past.
Yeah.
So there's always reasons why there's controlled movement, and when you shut the end gates, there's a reason for that. So we don't have any issues, no problems.
Got you. And what is it you guys need most? Is it just a matter of them increasing the pay, or is it beyond money? It's those shifts and it's balance of life and work.
It's really beyond money. It's the work-life balance, safety and security of the prisons. Right now, the violence is still there. If they made it safer and you can go home, that would draw more in. I'm
imagining too, when you said you were down a lot of guards, that you must have people who, in the state of things you're describing, is it 20 years you can get out of there and get your pension or whatever? I mean, you must have people who, the minute they can get out of there, like, I'm out, guys. So not staying.
We're 25 years and out. As soon as they are hitting 25, they're leaving. They're going out. They're not sticking around.
No.
I have 21 years on the job, and when I got in 21 years ago, it seemed like a lifetime to get the time to get out. But you had guys with 25, 30, 35, 40 years saying, you had the senior guys, and they were the ones helping you get through everything and teaching you. That's not happening anymore. They're getting 25 and they're retiring.
Yeah, the institutional knowledge, an older guard, just like an old journalist like me, the things you know to tell a young person, they must be like, hey, come here for a second, don't do that again. Oh, what'd I do? You know, you got too close to this, or you got too personal with that. You know, that's important, isn't it?
It's very important. To have that knowledge in there. They got trained from guys before them, and when there's issues, that always gets passed down.
Yeah.
So then we know how to run the facilities, or just simple things that you wouldn't think of normally, and you mess up on. You have that senior guy saying, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
This could cause this problem, and it'll be a snowball effect.
Yeah, reminds me of very different, but rock climbing. You know, you don't want to make a mistake up there. It can be bad. Same with being in a prison with somebody maybe who's in there for murder. Chris Summers, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you for coming in and talking about it. I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Oh, thank you.
Into this budget year in 2026. When we come back, New York's marijuana industry seeing some changes and some deadlines. When we return, we'll hear from the acting executive director of the Office of Cannabis Management on the successes, struggles, and the outlook for the future. By the way, if you have a comment or story idea, please tell us about it. You can email us at news@news10.com. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at WTEN. Welcome back to Empire State Weekly. This week we are checking in on the cannabis industry here in New York. The governor recently naming John Kagia as the new acting executive director of the Office of Cannabis Management. Kagia will be the acting executive until he is confirmed by the state Senate. This appointment comes as the industry sees new regulations take effect, all part of their seed-to-sale tracking system. All products like gummies or vapes are now required to have QR codes attached to them before they can be sent from distributors to dispensaries. And by the end of the month, every product on store shelves is supposed to be guaranteed to have passed a safety test. Seed-to-sale system is meant to ensure customer safety. Joining us now to give us an update on the state of the cannabis industry across New York State, John Kagia. He's the acting executive director at the Office of Cannabis Management. Is acting the right word, or you're the guy doing it?
I'm doing it, but acting is the correct title.
Got you. Congratulations on the position.
Thank you.
Before we even get to how things are, you were telling me off camera, you've been around this cannabis world for a while, right?
That's right. So spent the first 10 years of my season in cannabis working in the private sector of the industry. I worked with a team that built the first market research and data analytics company focused just on legal cannabis. And so we spent about nearly 10 years thinking very deeply about the size, growth, and evolution of legal cannabis, not just in the United States and across the world. So having done that work for a long season and worked with stakeholders across the ecosystem to better understand this market, I joined New York State as the Director of Policy, and then last week was appointed the Acting Executive Director.
Very good. And I know you just got in there to kick the tires and see what's going on, but how are we doing across the board with the industry here in New York?
New York's cannabis industry is cooking with gas, so to speak. We have over 2,000 licenses issued across our supply chains. So that's nearly 600 growers, processors. We have nearly 600 retailers that are now operational in the state. Since sales began in 2023, we have done about $3 billion in sales. In fact, I think we hit that $3 billion mark this week. And we're forecasting that for 2026, we're on pace to do nearly $3 billion in sales just this year alone. So we've built a robust market. We still have a long way to go to fully capitalize on the full scale of this market. But we're really proud of the work that we've done today to seed this market. And I'm looking forward to continuing to do this work.
It seems like the stories about lawsuits and things taking a long time to open have kind of gone away. I know that when you weren't there that first year or two, it just seemed like there were a lot of things tripping it up before it could get on its feet. Have they kind of gotten past a lot of that now where you're just, as you say, cooking with gas?
There's still a great deal of work to be done, but I'm incredibly proud of the work that we have done in a very short amount of time. It has only been 5 years since the cannabis law passed. It's only been 3 years since we really began operationalizing this market. But in that time, a resource-constrained agency has not only licensed all of these businesses, we've conducted all of the enforcement against it, we've tested millions of products, of cannabis products, to make sure that they're safe for consumers. We've shut down over 600 unregulated dispensaries in the state, seized nearly $100 million worth of illegal product. And so it's a small team. We're barely 260 staff who have been engaged in all of these different functions. And so, yes, the mandate is large and growing, but we're really proud of what we've been able to achieve in a relatively short amount of time.
With the danger of, we hear on the news all the time, fentanyl and somebody trying something for the first time and that's all it took and they're gone. And, is there an urgent need more than ever? If you're going to use something like this, please go to a store where it's regulated, tested. Talk about that a little bit. I know people might pay a higher tax than some guy they would get it from down at the corner bar for the last 20 years of their lives, but your stuff is safe. We'll put quotes around that. Yeah. Some doctor may call me and say, "Oh, it's not safe," but you know what I'm talking about.
So this is a real distinction between the unregulated market and the legal one. Every single product that is sold in New York has to go through compliance testing to make sure that it doesn't have harmful adulterants or contaminants that could be unsafe for public consumption. Every legal store has very strict protocols around preventing sales to minors, making sure that these products aren't ending up in the wrong hands. We have a team that's working on a Cannabis Care and Health Equity Center of Excellence, which includes, amongst other things, working with medical practitioners to help better understand how medical cannabis can be used therapeutically, but also critically on public education to ensure that everyone from parents to educators understand how to prevent youth use, how to store cannabis safely at home. So there are all of these governing activities happening on the legal side that are intended to minimize the risk to public health and public safety that don't exist in the unregulated market. And so while we have to recognize that New York already has a very large market, legalizing cannabis wasn't about creating new consumers. It was about letting the over 2.2 million consumers who already exist and consume cannabis regularly to have a safer, better regulated alternative. And so that's the work that we're doing, and that's the work we'll continue to be focused on.
I think, 10 years ago, if you said cannabis, people think, oh, smoking pot, the smell and the smoke and the... and certainly you can buy, as they call it, flower or whatever. I'm not really up on this stuff, but are a lot of the sales stuff, it's not necessarily smoking, like gummies and brownies and things like that. Talk about that just briefly.
That's a great question. That's been one of the sea changes we've seen in as legal markets have grown, is smokable product, flour, is now less than half of our total sales. We've seen the proliferation of these other non-combustion-based products, edibles, chocolates, gummies, beverages have been doing really well. Topicals, things that you can apply to the skin for more localized relief. And so New York has been an incredible center of innovation around new product forms and delivery mechanisms. And we would encourage your audience, if you think cannabis is still just about smoking, visit a local dispensary and see the very wide range of products that we now have available.
Got you. We'll have to leave it there, but congratulations on the position, and thank you for coming in and talking to us.
Such a pleasure.
John Kagia. Best of luck with all of it. A state memo projects that New Yorkers could face increasing energy costs. When we come back, we'll hear from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle on the impact that memo is having right now on the budget negotiations. And by the way, if you got a comment or story idea, reach out to us. We are at news@news10.com. We are also on X, which old people like me still call Twitter, at WTEN. With the state budget due just under a month, we're continuing our coverage of the state's affordability issues. Now, last week, a memo got circulated around that projected grim costs for New Yorkers. They will all be paying for the state's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. Our Capitol correspondent Jordan Sartor-Francis heard from both Democrats and Republicans as they try to tackle energy prices in this upcoming budget.
So Wednesday, I directly asked Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins if this memo had any implications or impacts on one House budget negotiations. And she said affordability for New Yorkers has always been on the discussion table for them.
And we've had our package about utility rates.
Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins is referring to 10 bills the Senate passed in February in hopes of mitigating rising utility costs. When she was asked Wednesday what she thought about Governor Hochul's possible plans to change the state's climate targets to prevent the memo's worst-case scenario, the Senate Majority Leader said,
I just want to know what the proposal is.
In addressing Governor Hochul at another press conference later in the day,
it is time to repeal the CLCPA. It is time to repeal.
Some Republicans stood united in wanting to see a repeal of the 2019 Climate Act. Last week's memo that surfaced said the elements of that 2019 Climate Act would lead to some New Yorkers paying thousands of dollars on top of already rising energy costs.
46% increase in utility bills for businesses.
Republican Senator Mark Walchik says more than just their utility bills, New York consumers would be punished for businesses struggling with energy upcharges. Republicans were also critical of climate statute timelines that the memo also referred.
They cannot be met. The governor knows it. I bet you some of my colleagues know it, and yet they still passed it.
And Senator Robert Ord said, irregardless of the war with Iran, that $2.33 increase at the gas pump that memo mentioned is a big concern, irregardless of, he said, that war with Iran. At the state capitol, I'm Jordan Sartor-Francis.
Thursday, New York's Attorney General Letitia James filing New York's 56th lawsuit against the Trump administration in just the president's second term alone, this time on the federal tariff policy that was recently rejected by the Supreme Court. After that court ruled against the president's initial tariffs, he issued more by using the Trade Act from 1976. latest lawsuit by the state says the use of that 1976 trade law is a misinterpretation by the president. Both Governor Kathy Hochul and the AG are saying New Yorkers are victims of Trump's tariffs.
This law is anachronistic. It no longer applies in our system.
We have estimated that collectively across the state of New York, families have paid more than $13.5 billion more because of the Trump tariff tax.
Researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York found that Americans paid almost 90% of the cost of the tariffs in 2025. Stick around. Back with a look at the week ahead in just a bit. By the way, if you have a comment or story idea, please tell us about it. You can email us at news@news10.com. We're also on X at WTEN. Finally, in Empire State Weekly, we are continuing to keep an eye on New York's budget process. After the budget hearings ended earlier this month, the next step will be the legislature to present the Senate and the Assembly one-house budgets. The one-house budgets are the legislature's rebuttal to Governor Kathy Hochul's executive budget. In theory, once the House is announced, then the governor and the lawmakers will spend the next few weeks and try to come to a consensus on a state spending plan. The budget, of course, is due on April 1st. We'll be sure to keep an eye on all the updates and bring you the very latest from our state capitol. For now, from all of us here at Empire State Weekly, I'm John Gray up in Albany. We'll see you right here next week. And don't forget, you can watch this show all over New York State. Here's the full schedule of Empire State Weekly on 10 TV stations across the great state of New York.